Here are 9 dramatic Coronation Street spoilers for next week, including a final goodbye to Billy, a grooming secret unraveled, and a new face arrives. Don't miss it. Spoiler 1. Sam's suspicions rise in Coronation Street spoilers. Sam's detective instincts kick in when Leanne shows Megan a mystery tracksuit top found in the flat. Megan insists it belongs to Daniel, but Sam isn't convinced. Later, he corners Will on the street and cheekily asks if anything is going on between Lee and Megan. Will laughs it off, but Sam then spots the same tracksuit top tucked in Will's sports bag. Busted? At the Rovers, Will panics, warning Megan that Sam is onto them. Megan isn't impressed, and spotting Sam doing homework in speed dial, she immediately clocks him. Later, Leanne invites Sam for tea, but Megan is already planted at the table. Sam may have been playing detective, but he's just made a powerful enemy. Spoiler 2. Jodie flirts with danger. Abby drops by number 8 with a warning for Jodie. Carl Webster is trouble, pure and simple. Shona backs her up, revealing Carl's past infidelity. But Jodie's resolve crumbles when Carl struts into the cafe, turning on the charm. Smiles, flirting. Jodie is clearly intrigued. Red flags are everywhere, but will she ignore them all? Spoiler 3. Theo points the finger at Debbie. Debbie tracks Todd down in Victoria Garden, offering £3,000 for Billy's funeral, a kind gesture at the worst possible time. Seeing Todd in pieces, Theo lashes out at Debbie, blaming her for everything. Carl rushes in to defend Debbie, turning the garden into yet another Weatherfield battlefield. Spoiler 4. Billy's funeral. As Billy's funeral looms, Theo is drowning in guilt. A heart-to-heart with the bishop urges him to stop blaming himself and talk to God instead. But Theo finds that easier said than done. Left alone at the undertaker's, he confesses everything to Billy's coffin, apologizing for leaving him to die. A sudden door slam makes him freeze. Has someone overheard? On the funeral day, Theo spirals further. When Todd is asked to deliver the eulogy, he's overwhelmed. Theo helps by shifting the blame onto Todd. Later at the Rovers, Todd wrestles with whether to speak out, while Bernie drowns her grief in wine upstairs. Even funerals in Weatherfield are far from peaceful. Spoiler 5. Theo takes control of Todd's finances. Todd's secrets come out when Theo opens his post and finds a final demand from a credit card company. Todd insists it's under control, but Theo isn't convinced. He urges Todd to take drastic action, leading him to cut up his bank cards and switch to cash only. Will Theo's tough love approach help, or just push Todd further away? Spoiler 6. Kevin's behavior worries Abby. Kevin's troubles become impossible to ignore when he overhears Tyrone and Abby discussing chaos at the garage. Later, Abby finds Kevin asleep in a customer's car and heads to Streetcar's flat to confide in Debbie Webster. Kevin is clearly struggling, and Abby fears his behavior may spiral even further if no one intervenes. Spoiler 7. Ryan faces robbers in Coronation Street. Ryan's shift at the Chariot Square Hotel descends into nightmare territory when 2 masked robbers storm reception, clawhammer in hand. As Ryan freezes, Carl arrives. Perfect timing or terrible luck? Will Carl save the day, or is Ryan about to become the next victim of Weatherfield chaos? Spoiler 8. Bernie hits the town and trouble. Bernie Winter storms out for a girls' night with Gemma, Sally, Glenda and Christina, ignoring Dev's warnings about booze. Shots flow, but she sneaks into Chariot Square Bar for more, meeting Mal. They confide in each other about troubled relationships until Ryan cuts them off, and Mal invites Bernie to his room. Back home, Dev panics as Bernie goes missing. When she finally returns, she freezes at Mal's sudden appearance. Spoiler 9. Roy's disastrous date in Coronation Street. Spoilers. Summer's day starts with relief when Kit returns her stolen rucksack with Paul's ashes intact, but the shock sends her spiraling. Left in charge of the shop, she helps herself to the alcohol. Roy arrives for his first date with Alice, only to find Summer drunk behind the counter. Then Mal shows up, introducing himself as Alice's husband, leaving Roy completely floored. To top it off, Nina later tells Roy there's no electricity in the flat. One small problem too many on the cobbles. And if you enjoyed these Coronation Street spoilers, subscribe so you can come back for more news from the cobbles. 2 familiar faces return to EastEnders in our spoilers for next week, as Mark Fowler Jr. returns to Albert Square. He's here for Joel's trial, where Vicki is nervous about taking to the witness stand. But what is Mark really hiding? Find out in our explosive EastEnders spoilers for next week. Spoiler 1, Mark Jr. returns. Following the events of last week, Mark Jr. is back in town. Phil, Sam and Vicki all demand to know what he's doing back on Albert Square. He tells them that he's here to support Vicki in her trial, but it's clear he has an ulterior motive. What really brings Mark back to Walford? Spoiler 2, Mark drops Phil in it. Mark shares the truth about his return with Phil, who refuses to help. When Julie returns home earlier than expected, sneaky Mark tells her all about Phil's plan to take Nigel to Portugal. This forces a furious Phil to stick around longer than expected. Has Mark scuppered Phil's plans? Spoiler 3, Zach supports Vicki. When Vicki tells Zach that she's dreading Joel's trial, he invites her over to the flat for dinner. This serves as a welcome distraction for nervous Vicki. However, thoughts of Joel and the trial continue to weigh heavy on her mind. Spoiler 4, Joel stands trial. It's the day of Joel's trial and the families arrive at the courthouse. As the trial begins, Joel puts on a brave front while Tommy shares his evidence. But when Vicki takes to the stand, the defense lawyer's tactics cause her to grow upset and rush out of the room. When the trial resumes, emotions are at an all-time high. Meanwhile, Ross refuses Joel's request to visit him, so Joel asks to see another Walford local. This doesn't go well for Joel, though, and when court resumes, the trial takes a surprising turn. Spoiler 5, Jasmine's lies are exposed. Jasmine continues to plot her exit from Walford with Oscar, unaware that Max is planning to stop her. As Max learns that Jasmine lied about giving a statement to the police, Kat is determined to get the truth about her granddaughter's plans. Spoiler 6, Elaine is humiliated. George asks to meet with Elaine so he can tell her about Nicola's pregnancy. However, she gets the wrong idea, and their conversation sparks fresh hope that George wants to get back together. At the Vic, George is forced to put Elaine straight, embarrassing her terribly. Spoiler 7, Ian and Elaine's war escalates. After being humiliated by George, Elaine takes out her fury on Ian. He retaliates by whipping up a huge scandal, making her and Linda become front-page news. After discovering what Ian has done, Elaine vows revenge. Things get out of hand when she hits back, leaving Kathy caught in the middle. Later, Elaine tries to apologize, but the Beals are in no mood to forgive and forget. And after another row in the cafe, Ian goes to Peacock Palace to talk to Elaine and reveals that he's going to run for Councillor Barker's seat. She decides to play Ian at his own game by running in opposition. Spoiler 8, Bea comes to Honey's rescue. Bea starts looking for a job but struggles to find anything. Later, when she stops a shoplifter at the Minute Mart, Bea decides to apply for a job with Honey. When she steps in to help Honey to get rid of 2 teenage vandals, Vinny is impressed by all of her hard work. And if you enjoyed these EastEnders spoilers, subscribe so you can come back for more news from the square. Here are 6 exciting Emmerdale spoilers for next week as Graham returns to the village. Spoiler 1. Graham returns for Rona. Rona is stopped dead in her tracks when Graham is waiting for her in the surgery. She is furious that he has ignored all of her attempts to get in touch with him. What is his excuse? Spoiler 2. Kim and Joe discover Graham is alive. Joe suggests they replace Ice with a horse from the same gene pool, but Kim refuses. She says you can't bring back the dead, and then Graham steps out. Kim is utterly stunned and finds it hard to accept he's really back. Joe is shocked too, but in the aftermath, who is finding it harder to accept, Joe or Kim? Spoiler 3. Paddy hopes. Paddy is left feeling hopeful after a conversation with D.S. Walsh. D.S. Walsh arrives in the village to speak to Paddy, who tries to avoid it but knows he has to talk to her. He discovers the police are keen to speak to Celia about Ray's murder. Once she's out of earshot, Paddy gives Dylan to hopeful news. Spoiler 4. Rona makes a plea. Rona has had enough and makes a plea to the family to move on from the darkness of the past year. Spoiler 5. Ruby gets bad news. There's shock for Ruby when she discovers Anya might be dead. Spoiler 6. Arthur continues to hide Ray's money. Laurel feels her relationship with Arthur has turned a corner, but she has no idea he's sitting on a large envelope of Ray's cash. Arthur feels guilty after talking to April, but will he return the money to its rightful owners? And if you enjoyed these Emmerdale spoilers, subscribe so you can come back for more.